Okay. So, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Notes and Quotes podcast. If this is your first time, I'm really happy to have you here. Thank you for clicking on this episode and joining us today. So, I always love to talk to people and organizations and look for things that inspire me, especially having been in so many different inspiring areas in my life, whether it's climate, social justice, whether it's mental health spaces, so many different things. And Remake is one of the places that I have been watching for a long time. I've really loved the work that they do. And now I'm so excited to be able to introduce you to them. If you haven't heard of Remake, it's basically this amazing organization that works to bring equity and sustainability into the fashion industry by showcasing human rights and climate justice issues that are present in this industry, which is just a massive industry, as we know. I mean, it's the clothes we wear every day. And they're led by their leader, Aisha Barenblatt. I'm always bad with names, so I might be pronouncing that incorrectly. But I'm really excited today because I have the honor of showing you and sitting with Alison Green, who is the manager of community engagement at Remake. And I'm really excited to introduce you guys to her and be able to chat with her just about so many things that Remake is doing, their philosophies, their advice that they have for us, the clothing wearers. And yeah, I guess we'll just jump right into the conversation. So, Alison, thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much, Naomi. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. So, the way that we do things is that on the Notes and Quotes podcast, all of the guests get to choose their quote of the day to form the foundation of the conversation. So, do you want to share with us what your quote is?
Absolutely. So, my quote to frame this conversation was, "You won't get a revolution if you don't ask for one." And
Mm.
was written by Becky and Zack Exley, who worked on Bernie Sanders' 2016 campaign. And this quote was in their book, Rules for Revolutionaries. And it was about their grassroots organizing for that campaign and how it was run by volunteers and not by staffers, which is pretty rare on Capitol Hill. But I actually didn't read this book. It is on my to-do list. I haven't gotten there yet. But I read this quote in a book I was reading called Practical Radicals, and it's about organizing and the 7 steps for organizing by Stephanie Luce and Deepak Bhargava, which I highly recommend. But
Mm.
this quote, it's really powerful for me because it's very simple. Everyone can understand it. And I think it really highlights the importance of both community and long-term vision.
Wow. No, I really like that quote as well because it kind of hits you in the face. It's like a revolution doesn't just come out of nowhere, you know, it's something that is started by one person who tries to decide to make a difference and actually goes ahead and does that. So I really love that quote. And in preparing for this discussion, I was, going through the Remake website and kind of stalking all of your work and everything. And you talk a lot about change makers and change making power, and in the workshops and stuff that you guys do with your activists, what exactly do you mean by change making power? Like, what is it that you want to instill in them when you are educating them on all of the inner workings of the fashion industry?
Yeah, so I think we look at change making power as a very broad thing, right? We do a lot of collaboration at Remake. So, really, anyone in the fashion industry, any ordinary people, I mean, we all wear clothes, right?
Yeah.
So, everybody has this change making power to vote with their dollar, to have influence, to learn about the fashion industry and the history that we have.
Mm.
So, when we talk about our change makers, a lot of the time we're talking about our ambassador volunteers, which it's a free and open program. So a lot of this is just ordinary people, some who have been in the fashion industry for a long time. We have a lot of entrepreneurs. Some are people who are just really interested in learning more and seeing how they can support. But when we
Mm.
say change maker, I think a lot of the time we talk about how everybody can make change. Everybody has this power to make change, and that's really what it's going to take if we want to change this huge, massive industry and make
Yeah.
it something that we can all, feel really proud and comfortable with.
Yeah. No, I absolutely understand that. Why do you think people feel inclined to join those change makers? Like, why do they? Because I know that you guys have a lot of people, and a lot of people tend to join these industries, and especially people who have worked in the fashion industry, they come and join these change making groups. and want to make a difference, which is so interesting to me. What do you find is like the number one reason they choose to come on board?
Yeah, and it is really interesting. I think a huge part of it is community, right? We
Hmm.
have community hubs all over the world. And I think when I talk to a lot of our people in our ambassador community, one of the biggest things for them is finding this like-minded group of people who really love fashion and they love clothes and expressing themselves through different pieces. But, you know, the thing that they love and the way that we do it, the industry that we have right now, it doesn't align in their brain.
Yeah.
So I think, creating a community where people can express their fear of the current industry and how it doesn't match their personal values, and giving them this community and these actions and these tools for how they can take action to still do this thing that they love, which is celebrate themselves in fashion,
Yeah.
and combine it with creating a better world, which I think is really fun, and not something that when we think about the fashion industry normally comes to mind. I know a lot of times, even for me when I was younger, it was all about celebrities and influencers and
Yeah.
couture pieces, and getting older, I think it is a lot more about celebrating your own creativity and building a community that has the same values as you.
No, I love that. And you're so right. I mean, I think in everyone's minds, the fashion industry probably used to be a lot of, like you said, celebrity culture, high couture, high fashion. But fashion really is just every day. It's what you wear every day. It's what you and I are wearing right now. It's everything. And
Mhm.
that also jogged in my memory your quote. Well, not your quote, but your slogan that you have at Remake, which is wear your values, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's so interesting to me. So, like, is it the thought process behind it when I saw where your values was the thing that immediately popped in my mind was, okay, well, fashion is a form of self-expression. It's
Mhm.
what you put out to the world. It's how people see you before you even open your mouth. And why wouldn't you want to express, you know, what you value to yourself? Like, why would you not want to be wearing your beliefs? You know what I mean? So if you're wearing things that are very ethically produced, or whether they're sustainable products or something like that, where your values is all encompassed in that. And I wanted to know if that was kind of the thought process behind where your values as a slogan.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think, it is different for everybody, right? Like even before fashion, became some really mainstream thing, it was people in communities making their own clothes, like growing their own flax and making their own
Yeah.
linen and making it for people in the communities. And then we had the big industrial boom, and then fashion, became more for, building more uniforms. And then it turned into this, fashion for fun and for, expressing ourselves. And I think, wearing your values can look like a lot of different things. It could look like secondhand. It could look like making your own clothes. It could look like upcycling or mending, or if you have a hole on a sweater, instead of
Yeah.
throwing it away, like, can you put a little embellishment to cover up the hole? I think it means a lot of things to a lot of different people. And I think that that's why Remake has grown so fast with this amazing community of people that want to see change, is because we have a very open door policy here. Everybody can do it. Everybody can wear their values in different ways. Everybody has the power to make change, and we're just here to give them the space to do that and give them the tools to show them how they can do that on their own and with a group.
Yeah. That's wonderful. I love that. It's like it's literally for everyone. Because a lot of the time, I
Mhm.
think a lot of organizations or industries, sometimes charity groups as well, they kind of tend to be for a specific subgroup, and that's fine, that's absolutely perfect. But then a lot of times it's really difficult to find something that is marketed to everyone and everyone can relate to it. And I think those are the things that grow the fastest, because everyone can hop onto a piece of this. You can look at this and see yourself in something, because especially in fashion, like we said, we all wear clothes, and
Mhm.
everybody kind of loves fashion to some certain extent, even if you're not like a, super fashion geek and Anna Wintour and all these different things. But just in your everyday clothing, everyone can relate to that in some way. So that's really beautiful message that you guys have. And when we talk about the fashion industry, you had mentioned kind of the trajectory of it from the Industrial Revolution and all of these different things of how it has grown and changed over the years. And now the fashion industry is just massive. I mean, it shapes so much. I think it's also one of like the top 3 greenhouse gas emitters in the world. And it's just a massive, massive industry. So how do we even begin to reshape the way the fashion industry is now so that we can still enjoy fashion and love it, but in a just and equitable way?
Yeah. And, understanding the problems, education is huge. You had an
Yeah.
amazing conversation a few months ago, I believe, with Chemitei Janet, who I absolutely love. I know she was
Oh,
on
yeah.
Remake's community call in October, so I'm a huge fan of her. And you guys did a really great job of talking about education and a lot of the different issues. And I loved how you guys ended that call too with the important things of educate yourself and then just do the best that you can because that's
Mm-hmm.
really all we can do sometimes. Um, so I think education is a huge one. And to me, it really breaks up into 3 different issues, right? There's the planetary destruction,
Mm-hmm.
where this industry now is largely unregulated to just churn and burn fast fashion products. I mean, we have 100 billion items being made every year, and it's looking like that is, on to it's going to increase. We have an annual growth rate in fashion of 2.7%. I mean, and you could even see this with SHEIN right now trying to get an IPO in London because
Yeah.
they want to keep growing. So I think, planetary destruction in terms of continually making over and over and over again these 100 billion garments every year for only 8 billion people on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And then looking at the fiber, like polyester, spandex, nylon being made from fossil fuels. And then on the flip side, even natural fibers, right? Like you have cotton and linen and wool. And although those might be more natural for the planet, um, are they sustainable in terms of the labor, right? Like who's
Mm.
picking that cotton? Is that forced labor? How is it? Is it being sprayed? What chemicals are going back into those communities? And then microplastics, which is something we talk about all the time. So I think planetary destruction and understanding that part is huge. And I think most people like that is talked about a lot. And then we have like underconsumption core following that. I think another big thing that we talk about a lot at Remake is how fashion disempowers women. Um, I mean, there are 70 million people who make our clothes, and this is like highly skilled labor. I think a lot of people, even friends of mine, when I tell them that clothing is handmade, they're like, "What? I thought it was made from a machine." So I think understanding too that like our clothing pieces are made by young women. 80% of them are between the ages of 18 to 24. So we're really every time we buy, we're closing these young women into, we're trapping them really
Yeah.
into poverty that it's hard for them to get out of. I know I saw a stat a few months ago that has really stuck with me about how it takes a garment worker 18 months to make the same amount of money that a CEO makes on their lunch break,
Wow.
which is just, it's
That's
mind boggling.
insane.
It really is. And then, in that, not only does it disempower the workers, but also we have, models who wear our fashion. And, just this month, Model Alliance passed in New York their Fashion Workers Act, which now protects like a lot of models in that state, which is amazing. But how can we make that global, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also marketed to women and young girls at a very young age and puts them in this pit of jealousy and self loathing so young by trying to market how you need to overconsume to feel better about yourself. So I think that's another thing people need to educate on before they can make a change. And then the last thing is just it's expensive, right, for consumers and our planet.
Yeah.
Clothing is made so cheap, so it falls apart so easily. So you're constantly buying. Um, I don't know if you're a big thrifter, but just going into
Oh,
a
I
thrift store
definitely am.
now, it's so crazy though, because you
Yeah.
find so much like Shein or Temu or Zara, and it's horrible material.
Oh my gosh, Zara's the number one that I find because I'm based in the Cotswolds and there's so many charity shops here, which I love. But Oh my gosh, the amount of Zara brands that I find in there is insane. It's like I'm just in Zara basically. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's insane. I know. I'm based in Ohio in the U.S., and one of our like big local thrift store, Salvation Army, is a partnership with them. So
Mm-hmm.
they get all of like the any goods that are like damaged, or if there's like a button missing or something, they get
Yeah.
shipped there. But now they have like 4 aisles of just like damaged Zara pieces. I'm like, nobody wants these.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I know. It's absolutely insane. I can't believe how much I tend to find. It's just, and I mean, it's not surprising anymore because I know the stats and I know the industry and I know about fast fashion and everything. But it's I think it's more crazy how passive people can be about it. People is fast fashion's like a household name now. It's a household term. Everyone knows
Mhm.
about fast fashion, but then I still hear everyone saying, "Oh, I got this off of SHEIN," or "I got this, from Temu," or "I'm going and shopping at another fast fashion brand." And it's like they're aware, but they
Mhm.
don't care. So it's that passiveness that I tend to like struggle with, and I don't know how to overcome that. So do you guys ever find that as a struggle, especially with an organization that does so much on awareness and kind of uncovering the hidden, demons of the fashion industry? Do you find that overcoming that global passiveness to the issues is a problem?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, even in my personal life, right? Like, I have like my grandmother like called me a few weeks ago and was like, "I just bought something off of Temu," and I'm like, "Why?" And it's trying to get these. I want them to see it, how we see it so
Yeah.
badly. And I think a lot of times too, we can talk about, the planetary destruction and how it doesn't treat women well. And a lot of people don't connect with that. That's not their lived experience. It doesn't really affect them personally on their day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I found too that when there is something that always resonates with people. So maybe it's not the same things that resonate with you and I, where we care about, the people on the planet and where our clothes are
Mm-hmm.
coming from and going, but maybe it's about like the chemicals in the clothes, right?
Mm.
Like you could be wearing polyester and like that could be affecting your health, like your personal
Yeah.
health. Like if you don't, if you have children, right, and they're wearing these clothes with dyes that, we don't even know what effects they have on children yet. Alden
Mm-hmm.
Wicker has a really great book out about that called To Die For. But like maybe that's something that they can connect to. So, and that's something that I've been trying to practice as well, like in my personal life and relationships, is trying to find those things that can connect with people. If like the first thing I say isn't clicking for them, like how can I
Mm-hmm.
find something that just snaps in their brain to say, hey, this is an issue for me too. This is an issue
Yeah.
for my community. And how can I get involved in that fight?
I love that. That's so smart because my old strategy has always just been to showcase, that, oh, the fashion industry is like the third highest industry in greenhouse gas emissions. The labor is like completely unfair and unjust, and it really discriminates against women and all these different things that are focused on like climate and social justice. And I still get met with those like blank stares, like, okay, yeah, I get it, but it's cheap and I like the clothes, so I'm gonna buy it still. And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
gonna like turn a blind eye. And I've almost given up in a way, but I haven't thought about that other strategy of like, oh, there's other ways that I can make you like perk up and see that, hey, it might be impacting your health. It might be, impacting your own country and your own exploitation that might be happening. You don't know. So I think that's another strategy that I might employ. That's
Yeah,
actually
don't
really
don't give
interesting.
up. Don't give up on it. I mean, too, like a lot of people, I think just in general, not just with fashion, but have a hard time, caring or understanding something, even if they know the stat that they
Mm-hmm.
don't see regularly. And I think as climate change ramps up at a pace
Yeah.
that is going so quickly, um, it does put in perspective for a lot of people. It brings it to their home where they've never experienced it before. And when it brings it to them, I think it really does engage people more in a fight to
Yeah.
care and to like really understand what it's like when before they might not have.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. There's one other thing that has been really interesting when I was looking through Remake. Well, actually, I didn't even need to look at the website for this because it's been all over social media. Your hashtag No New Clothes campaign. Can you tell me a little bit about that? I mean, I kind of know a bit because I've been following it quite a bit, but I want like the audience to know about this hashtag No New Clothes.
Absolutely. So, no new clothes is one of my favorite things ever. It is so fun, and what we do is it's a challenge that encourages people to buy nothing, but going back to where your values, it's different for everybody. So we tell people like you don't have to not buy anything for 90 days, right? Like you can maybe not buy anything new and thrift or buy vintage or maybe buy something new from a local maker who made something out of
Yeah,
fabric, something
yeah.
like that. So it changes for everybody. But the goal of No New Clothes is we try to get people to sign on for 90 days. That's how long, studies say it takes to build a habit.
Mm.
And our main time period for this is from June 1st into the end of August. So those 3 summer months.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have it open on our website if anybody wants to, if they're feeling really excited and they want to sign up for it as soon as they're listening to it, like you can go sign up for No New Clothes now and do it all year long. I mean, and it's a way to put it on the consumer in a really fun way. I
Yeah.
think brands are the ones who are really responsible for the crisis that we're in fashion and, just with climate change in the world that we live in general. Um, but I think No New Clothes really gives the consumer power to show them, like, I can vote with my dollar, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I can make a difference and I can influence people in my community to join me in this pact to not give our money to people who don't deserve it and don't care about
Yeah.
the workers or the health of the planet. Um, and at the same time, it also kind of forces you to explore what you have in your closet already. I know my first year doing No New Clothes, I started just wearing the same thing over and over again. And then I was like, wait, I have all these pieces in my closet that I bought that I never wore. And now I'm
Yeah.
forced to figure out what my style is and get creative. And um, it really just opened up a new window to look through for me personally and with so many people who have been doing No New Clothes for a long time.
Wow, I love that. That's so cool. Because I mean, the thing that resonated with me the most was the last thing you said about you never really know how much is in your closet. And
Mm.
I've always thought, compared to everyone else, like I was always on my high horse, like, oh, I never have as many clothes as everybody else. They're just like serial shoppers. And then I was moving countries and I was having to like pack up everything and, do a big purge and stuff because I only had like two suitcases to fit basically like I don't know, 15 years of my life and it was crazy.
Oh my God.
And so I was going through my closet and I was like, wait a minute, why is my entire floor just filled with clothes? Because I just took everything out to look at everything. And there were so many pieces in there that I hadn't touched for years and they were just sitting in the back of my closet. And I was like, I didn't think that I had this many clothes. I don't even shop that often, but I do have so many clothes just from, oh, this would be nice, or oh, this is trending and I really like this, so I'm going to get it. Or, I passing by and I like this little thing and I'm going to buy it. But then I wear it for a couple weeks and it just travels to the back of my closet. And I never realize, hey, there's all these cool pieces that could have made amazing outfits that I've had for years. And now having downsized and having realized that I don't want to call it like a capsule wardrobe. It's not really a capsule wardrobe by any means, but it's just kind of a cap in my mind
Hmm.
that I don't really need new clothes. Like, yeah, I might be passing by. You're always going to pass by something that is gorgeous that you're going to
Oh,
want to
yeah.
get. Yeah, that's never going to
Yeah.
stop.
You can never have everything. Like, that's
No.
never, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, first of all, you'll have no more money if you
Mhm.
just kind of get everything that you want. And then you're just going to be perpetuating the problem unnecessarily. So I think it's a really interesting way to, one, figure out at the most basic level, figure out your own style with what you have, like you said. And then also just know that you're doing a good thing, not just for the planet, not just for the workers, but also for yourself, whether it's financially, whether it's for your own, personal well-being, just knowing that you're giving back. There's all these different benefits with that, and I think it's a really
Mhm.
creative way as well because everybody loves the challenge. Like, it's one thing to say to someone, you should just stop buying clothes. Like, you should just
Yeah,
stop. It's a really daunting thing, especially for people who like to shop, I
it
think.
is. And I think one thing too, like I remember my first year doing no new clothes, which I think was about 4 years ago now.
Mm,
Um, I still wanted to buy clothes, but I was like, I'll
mm-hmm,
just go to the thrift store, right?
mm-hmm,
And I could see my shopping habits being translated to the thrift store. So I'd go to the thrift store, but
mm,
I'd still buy like 10 to 15 things that I was like, oh, I think I might like this.
yeah,
And it wasn't until like, my second year doing it that I was like, wait, I'm just putting the same problem in a
yeah,
different store now. And just because
yeah,
it's secondhand doesn't mean that I actually need all of these things. So I think like no new clothes on top of just trying to get people to under consume fast fashion and really think about the issues in the fashion industry that they can support by their own consumption habits. But it also forces you to put that question in your mind of like, do I need this? Where
mm-hmm.
is it coming from? And if I don't want it anymore, where is it going? It kind of like forces you to really think about all those things when you're shopping, which is something that we all should do.
Yeah, absolutely. We should. Because, I mean, why would you not want to once again wear your values and then also just
Mhm.
give back? And I think you mentioned Chemitei. I love Chemitei. She's a wonderful person. She's one of my favorite activists. I love her so much. One of the things that we had talked about was sustainable brands and trying to support sustainable brands as well. And the thing that really gets me about sustainable brands is they're great and they're amazing, but because of the way that our economy works, they have to be a lot more expensive than, brands like Shein and Temu because of the way, all of the different things, the way that their clothes are produced, the conditions they're produced under, they can afford to make it super, super cheap. But
Mhm.
sustainable brands are actually doing what they're supposed to do, so their clothes are a lot more expensive. So it's really hard to bring them to the forefront and to like have them surpass or become more popular than our fast fashion brands because fast fashion is just such a massive industry. So how do we go about kind of pushing sustainable brands forward so that more people are interested in supporting them?
Yeah, that is a really great question. And I think, first, when you're buying sustainable fashion, you need to think about what the word sustainable means to you. I think there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
different things. Sustainable is kind of turned into a buzzword, right? I mean, so
Yeah.
what does it mean? Do they use fair trade products? Like, are they made in America? Do they support the International Accord and workers' rights? Stuff like that. Um, And, sustainable to me is I try to buy all my stuff from, if it's not like from like a curated vintage shop or something nearby, uh, locally made products made from
Mm.
dead stock. So it's like, to me, that's what sustainable means. I want to know the maker of who's making my clothes, which is a privilege to be able to have people who so nearby that I know who are capable of doing that.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, this is just a big issue that I don't know if I have the question for in terms of, how do we elevate sustainable brands? Because it's a
It is
huge
big.
problem, right? Like
Yeah.
I regularly think of, people in brands like Mara Hoffman, who is a huge idol of mine. And her pieces are amazing. And she was doing everything right, like what we think would be right. She was sourcing, she was using the right fabrics and she was sourcing from factories that she knew and supported the workers. She supported the right legislation that uplifted workers' voices, but she still had to shut her doors because it just wasn't doing things sustainable for people on the planet wasn't a sustainable model to keep a business running.
Yeah.
And I think that this is something that is going to take a long time for people to figure out, especially because, like you said, most people can't afford brands that are doing everything right now. I think something that, is helpful to me, there is my biggest obsession at the moment is an app called Commons Earth. And their social media is pretty large. They post amazing content, but they have an app and it pairs you. You can like search other sustainable brands. So
Oh,
you can look and see what their
cool.
sustainability rating is, like from fashion, like they have everything on there. Their website is thecommons.earth. They're fantastic.
Oh, I'll
Um,
link it in the show notes. Cool.
yeah, but I think like just trying to be a little bit more mindful. And if you can't spend a lot of money on,
Mm-hmm.
a piece that was made super ethically, then, maybe look at Poshmark, right? Like maybe like look at other things. But in terms of brands and how we can amplify them.
Yeah, it is a very difficult question. I won't lie. I mean, I've been thinking about it for years. It's hard because I think the biggest thing, in my opinion, is willpower. Because there's solutions are there. The solutions are already there with the circular economy, all of these different changes. You guys have a million articles on your website about different changes that can be made. But I think the biggest thing is the old practices that we're up against. So, do you guys think that there
Mhm.
has been change over the past few years, especially with the whole climate movements and the fast fashion movements ramping up so rapidly and the awareness being going crazy because of amazing people like you guys? Do you think that there has been some meaningful change at least?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, we're seeing a culture shift right now, which is really exciting. And there are some days that go by that I'm like, nothing has changed. I don't see it. But as a whole, the last 4 years that I've been working with Remake is I I see it in my community. I see it working with our volunteers. I think there is a culture shift, even if they're not a lot of people aren't able to support and elevate these a lot of these sustainable brands because of cost. I think there is a lot more support in terms of they're supporting them on social media. If there is, for like their birthday or something, if they want like one, I know a lot of girls who like will want one big gift from a sustainable fashion brand that like they might not be able to afford instead of a bunch of little things. So um, I think there is definitely a culture shift going on, and it's starting with a lot of these young organizers. I mean, we work with a lot of high school students who will reach out to Remake and be like, I am doing my school paper on sustainable fashion. And, 4 years ago, that's not something, no, like when I was in high school, no one was talking about this, like at all. So to see so many young people, really people of all ages, like even talking about it, I think it's happening and it's coming, and it takes a long time for these movements to build. And I think we're coming to a peak right now, and we're going to start seeing changes. I really believe that, but patience, it takes time, but it's coming.
Yeah. I mean, no revolution really started and just snap your fingers. I can't personally think of any revolution that has really achieved its goals in like what, 2 years, 3 years? Is that like how long we've been seeing like serious fast fashion rhetoric around? It does take time. Yeah. Hmm.
It takes a lot of time. And I mean, it's people like you too, like hosting these podcasts to educate people and, learning on your own and taking what you know and telling other youth and people are in their 20s. And I think, that's not something that I ever saw when I was, in my early 20s or in my teens. So I think that just having these channels accessible for people to learn, understand, and giving them tools to take action, we're going to see the impacts of that. Um, Down the line. And I think they're all going to be very good and powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so, so much, Allison, because I think it's one of the reasons I started as well. Because I mean, the podcast is what 4 or 5 months old because we started in August last year. I think that's 4 or 5 months. I'm bad at math, but it's not that old. And but my climate work and everything started maybe 3 years ago or so. And the whole reason that I started is because I realized just like the education deficit when it comes to issues like this. I mean, climate in general is not, it kind of is now, but was not talked about in the way that it needed to be and the nuanceness of it, like all these different levels. I remember probably a year in to climate
Mhm.
activism is when I learned about the intersection between climate and fashion. And it was the most fascinating thing because I'm also very interested in fashion and it's just one of the passions that I have. And when I saw those two connected, it was like a mix of emotions because it's like kind of heartbreaking, but also fascinating, but like also you need to see all of the different issues that are going on. And that's when I was like, okay, well, people need to be aware of this because I wasn't aware of it. And I didn't realize the practices that I was doing that were contributing to the problem. And I didn't realize there were all these really
Mhm.
accessible solutions that people don't really know about. So I think you're right. There has been definitely, undoubtedly, a big cultural shift, and I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, you could know and not care, but you can't care if you don't know, right? And I think we're still in that. Like we're almost out of it, but we're still in that, education time period where we're like, come on, everybody, like you can get on board. And I think like the quote that we shared earlier at the top of the call, like that's why it resonates with me so much. Like it's very much of like everybody can be a part of this revolution. Like, come on, like I'm gonna tell you how to do it. I'm going to help you get the tools. I'm still learning too. We can do this together. Um, and a lot of all of the successful movements, or most of them anyway, like I think they had that open door policy where it's like we can all make this change together. Um, I'm really excited for what the future holds, even though there are, the reason why we're doing it is it is like a pretty depressing, hard thing. It's a very heavy thing to think about. But I think it's exciting where we're at now because we're coming to a precipice that I think we'll get to a good spot soon.
No, absolutely. Thank you so, so much, Allison. So we've actually come to the end of our conversation. Do you have any last words that you want to share with the audience before you leave the Notes and Quotes community temporarily? I'm sure we'll have you back. But yeah, do you have any other last words?
Yeah, I think, for those of you who are listening who, want to make change and you want to organize, patience, right? Like you'll get there, it'll happen. Just use
Yeah.
patience and get out of your echo chamber, right? I think so regularly we talk, to the same people about what we care about over and over again. And it can be really scary to go talk to new people about
Hmm.
new things and people who might disagree with you, or reading or listening to things that maybe aren't your belief system. But I think there is a real benefit to getting out of that echo chamber sometimes and growing a movement that way. Um, but yeah, just thank you so much, Naomi. This has been so much fun. I can talk about this all day.
I know, me too. Thank you. I'm really happy that we got to do this. And I absolutely agree with your last words. We recently did an episode about um, being unafraid of changing your mind because I think it's so beneficial to be able to talk to people that disagree with you, who don't share your same beliefs, that same echo chamber that you can break out of, because you grow that way. And then you also influence others that way. That's how we all
Hmm.
grow together as a community. And I really, really love that. So thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah, everybody, please make sure to check out Remake. You will not
Hmm.
regret it. I love their website, first of all. It's just laid out so fun and it's so exciting. I love it. And it has so many different opportunities. I think you guys have like
Of
different community
course.
groups you can join, different workshops. There's like newsletters and all these different things. And the hashtag no new clothes challenge sounds amazing. I feel like this is the perfect time to do it as well because we're just started the new year. Like that's an amazing New Year's resolution that you can add to your list. No new clothes for 90 days. That's awesome. Definitely going to employ that as well. And yeah, make sure to check them out, guys. I will tag everything in the show notes. So now I have come to the end of my portion as well. If you enjoyed the Notes and Quotes podcast, please make sure to check us out on all of our socials. We are on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I always have to double check and remember that I'm remembering all of them. And you will see us again next Tuesday. If you want to check out more of me, you can find me. You can access me best probably at Instagram, which is my Instagram is Naomi A. Cambridge. If you want to chat, if you want to ask questions, please don't feel free. I mean, do feel free to shout out and ask us anything that you want. I'm always open ears. So thank you guys for listening. And thank you once again, Allison, for joining. And we are out. Hello, you are looking at Editing Naomi, who forgot to mention that we have a listener feedback form. Now, you guys, I know nobody likes to do surveys. I know it's just kind of a pain in the ass, but it would really, 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 really help me if you just went and did this less than a minute long survey. Honestly, it doesn't take any time at all. It just is so that we know what you guys like, if there's an episode that you really didn't like and that you want improvement on, or you want to hear other things. What do you want to hear next? What did you like about this episode? What did you not like about this episode? Just your feedback so that I know how to make this the best podcast for you. So If you did that, that would be amazing. Anyway, that's all I had to say. Thank you so much for watching. It was such a great time to talk to the Remake team. I loved talking to her. She was amazing, and I'm sure you guys enjoyed as well. And I really wish that you enjoy the rest of your day, night, evening, week, whatever it is. Love you all, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.